Okay, we got a question from Jan, and it really oddly ties into Jacob's question, Jacob and Jan. Do you think the fitness industry is sick? I've always thought that. I've never not thought that. This is important, Jan. You have to understand it. That we had charlatans and lunatics and idiots when I first started in the field too. It's interesting. I was reading a thing. I commented on Dr. Jarvis's Vermont folk medicine book, which I still think is a great book. And someone made this little snippy comment about, how it's, all outdated. He recommended eating honey and drinking apple cider vinegar, the two things I see all the time in the magic area of cleanses and stuff. But at the same time, you're getting him doing it. There was that one guy, Bob something or other, might have been Cummings or something, who was caught up in a fake vitamin scam. Just look at magazines from the 50s and 60s and just look at the health benefits of smoking. Yes, smoking, delightfully gives you, all the tar and nicotine you need to stay focused at work. Nicotine is a strong drug. Jane Fonda has come back, and, she was a fitness icon. And anybody who's from my family would struggle with Jane Fonda, but no one remembers why anymore. Fitness icon, Jane Fonda. I've always liked Arnold's work a lot, but, and I have a whole collection of bodybuilder books right here. And, this one here guy, I almost threw his book into the wall when I read it. He's this really holy roller guy who never touched anabolics. It's like, oh, come on. You can see it night and day. A bunch of the rest of them died young. And, but they're telling you in all the books, not one of them ever did an anabolic steroid. And I got the West Side book somewhere over here. And the one thing I always respected in my conversations with anybody who involved in, especially in the powerlifting community, is the absolute honesty and candor about, I do this, 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 and this. Okay. And I respect that. So before you say this fitness industry is sick, remember, in a way, it's always been sick. There were, and I don't know if any of this really worked, but there were pills you used to be able to take that had tapeworms in them. And if that's an urban myth, let me know, because I've always thought it was true. I mean, people are surrounded by photos on social media of fitness models, influencers, and miracle actors in good shape who claim to be natural. In addition, we have Liver King. Oh, you don't believe the Liver King was clean? Oh, yeah. And influenced bodybuilders selling their worthless products. Worthless is good. Promising impressive results and hiding behind the catches and something else. How should young people orient themselves and look for patterns when they lie? How are athletes supposed to find the motivation to play sports without PEDs when it's clear to them that without these substances, they would not reach the highest level in most sports? I read the other day that the East Germans felt that PEDs added 10 to 12 meters to the discus throw. So I threw 58 meters clean. I did. Add 12 meters of that puts me at 70, and that puts me to immortality versus this real nice guy who talks on podcasts. If I'm going to be biased, I would say that even during the times of, and he mentions an American strongman and Yuri Vasilov, a Soviet, some PED substances were already being used. Yes, they were. But not in such large quantities. Isn't that pulling us into a downward spiral? Maybe this could be part of the solution to find our way and healthy motivation. It was my small victory to defeat a non-natty opponent. Well, obviously, if I rant and I name names, then this video will blow up and I'll be all over the internet, and then more people will buy my product and I'll become famous. Because that seems to be the way things have been going on lately. I don't know if you've noticed in the last few months that certain people have called me out. I use a worthless tool called a kettlebell. I also use barbells. I also use suspension trainers. I also use hip thrust machines. I also use squat racks, pull-up bars, dumbbells, former implements, Highland Game equipment, track and field equipment. But yes, I am a kettlebell guy only. It's tough, man. Jan, it's a tough question. I have noticed, and one of the things that bothers me, in fact, I actually, there's a, I'm with the RKC, the Dragon Door, but Strong First has a good forum. The guy who runs Strong First forums, his name is Steve Freitas, and I met him at the CKFMS, Corrective Kettlebells Functional Movement Screen. He was in my cohort, and he runs their site, and he does a good job. And the other day, somebody was talking about this former kettlebell guy who just now destroys kettlebells. And I'm like, okay, I don't like that. I don't like the idea that we see a lot of, is that nowadays this popular thing is to bite the hand that fed you. I try not to. And I know I've said some mean things here and again. I get angry, and I've been inappropriate. The nice thing, back in the day, you could say anything you wanted and just apologize to the three people in the room. Nowadays, you have to apologize to, all 8 billion people on the planet when you say something stupid. And I say stupid things all the time. I found out recently that one of the women, actually there's 2 now, I just found out, but that talk about, here's my Brussels sprouts and my chicken thigh, and they're on these drugs that, just make females just roast fat. And they're doing all these they're showing their abs, and there's this new thing where they pull the shirt up like this and then lean back and hit the ab shot. Everybody's doing that's like this year's new ab shot. I'm not going to do it. You're welcome. It's tough. It's tough. It's very tough. It gets old because I've been lifting weights since 1965. PEDs were already a factor. I remember my brother telling me about these guys from South City High who went off to play for this local university, and what they were given for their summer training is two Dianabol tablets a day. That was the norm back in the 60s. I remember, I was told by a very famous coach, yeah, we would just send guys down to the doctor and they would be on Dianabol. It was legal. They were, being supported by a doctor. And of course, you look at the marks that come out of the time, the distances, the lifts at the time, and it's like, oh yeah, I can almost circle the day someone started on drugs. Some very famous throwers, you look at their, careers, boom, boom, boom. It's like, well, how did that happen? And please don't tell me you started eating a canister of protein powder, as one person famously said to me. Oh, I started eating protein powder. Oh, yeah, okay. It's tough. The Liver King, I already made my comment on that on his Instagram post. And I told him if he's serious about wanting to stop, I'd be happy to help him any way I can. But I got to tell you, man, if you think booze is addictive, from what I've seen with my friends, there's nothing more addictive than those drugs. Like the one guy said, I always feel good until I don't. And then what do you feel like? Oh, I get suicidal. Then I just, oh, okay. Well, listen, I'm with you, Jan. I think about one of the few ways I think we can get things better is if we can stop listening to that people in the age group of about 19 to 35. 19 to 35, you can get away with those. The workout that shall not be named workouts, post your number and all that crap. And, basically high intensity training 5 days a week. In my experience, when I tried the Nautilus experiment for those 2 years of my life, waste of time. When I did the 2 years of the workout that shall not be named, total waste of time. Those are programs that probably work real well, if you're in that 17, 18, 19 to 35 age range, 34 probably. That's when high intensity training and caloric restriction of any kind works. You don't need to go for walks at that age. You can you can just go in there and burn. And you'll notice that most of the fitness influencers you listen to are probably in that age group. I'm not going to get a ton of information from a 27-year-old female athlete who's doing 2 or 3 or 4 seriously heavy drugs. Now, I'm going to be impressed by the results, but when I look at what's going on behind, it's not going to help me out. However, when I read what a 45-year-old bodybuilder is doing, when there's some women Olympic lifters, I'll look at what they do and I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. The balance of how they do things is genius. But of course, then you turn out, they're 61 years old or whatever it is, So for me, I think this would be a good piece of advice. I'm trying to help, is look for people older than, let's just make a flat, I was going to say 35. Let's stick with 35. 35 to 40, if you go to masters competitions, that's where you'll see the huge change. You'll see this massive change in how people look and move from about 35 to about 40. It's fascinating, actually. It's when life catches up. And it's not bad, nothing bad. That's very often, I had, early 40s is when I had girls in middle school, late 40s, girls in high school. And well, for me, I was 50, but that's when life gets, that's the big time in your career. That's when you tend to be you start to really grow in your own communities. Yeah, so listen, so a quick piece of advice is, listen to people who've been around for a while. Listen to people that you can trust. And it's funny because I won't even comment on, I'll get people asking me about people I don't trust. I won't even say their name on the thing. Many of them died young, and they're still considered the greatest names in our sport. Well, they were great because they were doing all kinds of drugs, and there you go. Well, listen, I've ranted enough. I hope that was helpful. I don't think I said anything congruent or important because this is a tough issue for me. I feel like I'm bashing people who are, who love their bodies, love themselves, and maybe help some people. But overall, I think they do more damage than good. That's tough. That's not usually the way I like to end a question, Jan. But thank you so much.